Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here with you, bringing you some of the latest information in the film industry, music, and entertainment in general. I've been away for about a week. I am back. I had some classic episodes that were running the last couple of days here. This is a Friday. I'm doing a show on a Friday only because the Emmys just came out, and I thought I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. The Emmys, once considered the pinnacle of recognition in television, they have seen a notable decline in cultural relevance and viewership, especially viewers' engagement in recent years. Once it was celebrated as an annual event that drew millions of viewers and marked major career milestones for actors, writers, and creators, the Emmys are now struggling to maintain the same level of prestige. Now, I will say that some of the content and material that has been coming out in the last couple of years um, is pretty good. You gotta admit some of it is pretty good. Um, it's the films are one thing, the TV shows are another thing. I think one thing that has really been notable um, is that it hasn't necessarily, or one thing that's been really obvious is that the quality, not so much the quality of the content, but the level of integrity on some of the material. They're very sex driven, very just very dirty. And it feels like they don't know how to not do that. Does that make sense? It feels like if in order to make a film or to make a TV show or to make something powerful enough for it to get viewers and for it to get recognition, that it has to have a lot of curse words, it has to have sexual innuendos and a lot of sexual themes, and not so much like shows like past shows where you had sexual or at least you had relationships, but it wasn't so over the top the way you can do it on certain cable networks, right? Like HBO and Netflix and things like that. So that's part of the interesting. Now the Emmy nominations marked a territorial shift of who actually owns prestige television. Prestige television is the cable, right? No, well, not the cable. I shouldn't say the streaming platforms like HBO and Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and Paramount and those kinds of Apple TV is really big, very very big, and so they have a lot of power now. Whereas in the old days it was just ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox were the networks that had the TV shows, and they would get the nominations. They had commercials during the shows. They had a lot of money spent on commercials, and that's called legacy media. And the legacy media has been crashing. The legacy media has been really on a downfall, and there's a lot of sellouts there. People are selling out a lot of portions of it, of what they own when it comes to legacy media. And the difference, legacy media means basically you have commercials. You can't stop the shows. Prestige TV is where you can stop the show, pause the show, rewind the show, fast forward, whatever you want to do. You have more control. But they're taking over. Prestige TV is taking over, and now HBO came out on top with the nominations with 142 nominations. HBO had. I don't even have HBO. I should probably get HBO. They must have some pretty good stuff on there. Um, but the thing about all these streaming platforms, and at some point, something's got to give because they keep coming out with streaming platforms that you got to pay. So what is it now? It's HBO, it's Netflix, it's Amazon, it's Apple TV, it's Paramount, it's Disney Channel. It goes on and on and on and on. I mean, it's Peacock. They all have these streaming platforms that you pay for, and then you start looking at your bills and you're like, wait a minute, why? What did I spend $250 on? Oh, subscriptions. That's it. So we have Netflix, we have Amazon Prime, um, and we have a couple others that I can't even think of. But we had to get rid of some because it's like, well, if we don't watch this every day, it's kind of ridiculous that we're just paying, it could be over $100 a year just to a company. Here, enjoy this money. I hope you guys enjoy my money. Without ever watching it. So now Netflix, which usually pretty much eats everybody's lunch when it comes to monthly viewers, watch time, subscriptions, they came in second to HBO with 121 nominations. Still a staggering number, which is amazing. Now Apple had some of the highest nominated shows with Severance had 27 nominations, and the studio had 23 nominations, making over 60% of the studio's 81 nominations their personal record. Not bad for a 6-year-old studio. Yeah, but they had $1 billion going in. They make it seem like it's like, yeah, it's a startup. Yeah, Apple is a startup. Apple TV. No, it's not a startup. They had a great number of people involved that were paid very hefty to come in and do this, and that they're getting the product that they're supposed to be getting. They're Apple, for Christ's sakes. They should be doing this. There were also some major disappointments like Prime and Paramount Plus being overlooked for all the above the line nominations. Well, those are like the top nominations, not the lower ones, but the above the line nominations are generally controlled, and I have a few things to say about the Emmys in a second. But those nominations, the shows have to be good, and as we all know, Paramount right now, is being purchased by Skydance, and that's been a merger that's been trying to happen for a long time. And I think it's finally going to happen. So Paramount is restructuring right now. They have a lot of things going on at Paramount. And so it doesn't surprise me that their content is not really crushing it, because they're in a transitional stage at the moment. Now, interestingly, there were two Oscar-winning directors, Martin Scorsese and Ron Howard. They got some love for their acting on the Apple TV's The Studio. They gave them 2 nominations as Best Guest Actor in a Comedy Series. They share the category with 6-time Emmy winner Bryan Cranston, also for The Studio. The Studio is a good show, so just so y'all know. Who I loved as the righteously unhinged slosh, a bumbling boss in the final episodes. So the person writing this says, whom I love. He was good. He was definitely good. So the Emmys. So here's my viewpoint, if anybody cares, my personal opinion. The streaming networks that all came out that started now getting nominations like this, 142 nominations for HBO alone. Netflix had 121. That's 2 streaming networks, okay, that together had 263 nominations. 263 nominations between 2 streaming platforms just went to them. And Apple TV had 1 film, 1 show, have 27 nominations. So back in the day, and back in the day, I mean 20 years ago, not like 100 years ago, but 20 years ago, maybe even less than that. Well, whenever all these platforms came out that started creating original content, because I think Netflix and HBO always had, I guess they always had original content. I don't know if they actually were. Yeah, I guess they did. They had that. But Netflix, when they started, and then we had Hulu, and then we had Apple. Now 6 years out, and all these different streaming platforms basically now get their nominations. It kind of makes it really difficult for legacy media to even get any attention, because the money is really with these streaming platforms, the sponsors for regular television. And by the way, legacy media is not going away tomorrow. The TBL, all those networks, commercials are still being shot. I know, because I'm an actor and I see the breakdowns and I see things being cast. the same way they were always cast. You know, selling Tide. My husband loves his shirts white, so I use Tide. That's still happening, by the way. They pay a lot of money, sometimes millions of dollars for those commercials. And the networks are not getting the viewership that they needed, So it is going down, but it's not going to go down tomorrow, right? They're kind of treading water right now. But they're not getting really the opportunity to compete with a lot of these networks, these streaming platforms, because of the fact that these streaming platforms can crank out 10 episodes very quickly, and legacy media needs that revenue from those commercials in order to put shows out. And if the people aren't watching the shows, if you have a show, the way it works, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you that watch understand this, but just in case you don't, if you have a show that a lot of people are watching, then the sponsors, the Tide commercials, the McDonald's, all those commercials want to go to there because that's where people are watching, right? If the show goes down, they're not spending their money on there. The show can't go on. They can't afford it because it's like that money pays for the show, right? So they have this thing where they're kind of tied to. They have to make good content. That's a given. Which is, I think it's good because it elevates the content for everyone when you see these shows that are done really well, very very smart, very well written. And definitely well acted. And when you have that competition, now it elevates everyone. Everyone has to pick up their game. Everybody has to elevate their game and play at a much higher level, right? Well, one of the things that's happening is that people aren't watching these shows, so the revenue is going down. They don't have as much money to pay for a Cranston to be on the show, to have Martin Scorsese and Ron Howard come in on NBC and CBS and ABC and one of their TV shows. I'm sure they have guests as well, but it's very difficult when the money's not coming in. Now, if a show is really a hit show on ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever, and is it one of those legacy media shows, and they're making the money, that one show will do well. The Big Bang Theory, Seinfeld, Cheers. These are big, monumental shows. The Simpsons, right? Still going after all these years, right? And so a lot of people watch that. So there's a lot of money thrown in there, and the sponsors want to be there. The advertisers want to put their money on those shows. And what happened is that because the streaming platforms took over so heavily all the programming that was in the nominations, even the Oscar nominations, but this is the Emmys for television. But some of the films that were shown on Netflix were qualified for Oscars, which I thought was theatrical and only could be in the theater awards, not necessarily television. But they're not considering Netflix like television, but it is television. And the Emmys were only for television. You see where I'm going with this? And so it's been skewed. It's been very, very perverted in the way they actually are handling these things, because I know that there's money. But now what's happening is that the value, see, the Emmys were an ultimate value, right? I mean, if you won an Emmy, you had a career for the rest of your life. One Emmy, not 27 like Severance. So all those people that worked on Severance, it doesn't matter who they are. If they worked on that show, whether they're actors or their crew, they can claim Emmy nominated. They worked on Emmy nominated shows. That's a lot of people, right? Hundreds of people that can claim that. Now, the people, the 121 nominations that Netflix come in. If you work for Netflix, you can say that. If you're a filmmaker, if you were on any of these productions that won the 121, HBO 142. My point is that the value has gone down because it's been given out a lot more. It's sort of like giving 8th place trophies, right? It used to be in the old, when I was growing up, there was 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And 4th place maybe got an honorable mention, but they were in 4th place. They didn't win. It's okay. They came in 4th. Not terrible. But now you're giving away 10th place trophies And now you're giving away, everyone gets a trophy because we don't want to make anyone feel bad. Well, what you're doing is you're creating a bunch of people that aren't going to really work as hard because it's like, well, I got my trophy. Why am I got my little fake Oscar here? I got my trophy. So why am I going to work so hard? Because, you know, Tommy over there got the same one and he came in ninth. But I'm second. I came in second. Why is he walking around? So the incentive to work really hard for kids, especially, goes down. And this is why we have a culture right now of very, very soft and people that have to be coddled or else they're going to, I can't believe that my boss is making me work 3 hours straight, that kind of thing. Because they were rewarded for doing nothing. So this is spilling into these award shows because they're, you know, it's wonderful to win an Emmy. I mean, my gosh, I can't even imagine what an honor it would be to win an Emmy. Even today, still, it's an Emmy. It's awesome. It's fantastic. Everybody wants them, and it's great. But I will say that when is that going to stop? Like HBO 142, Netflix 121, Apple, they have 81, and there are others, all these, this is great that they're doing so well, but the spreading of the love. So there's other studios, because these are going to be the ones that are taking over right there. That's three studios that have over 300 nominations between just three entities, three studios. That's crazy, you know. And are they upset about it? No, they're going to take over. They're going to do what they do. Now, HBO is a television. Netflix is television. Apple is television. But when you start letting them be in the Oscars, then it's not television unless they had a theatrical showing. Now, what the loophole on that is that they're just going to show it in one theater and it's a theatrical showing. They'll rent out, the Chinese theater down in California, and they'll have a big event, and then the next day it'll go right into Netflix. I think that happened with um, The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's film, 3 hour long, really good. That was like a theatrical thing for like a week or something, and then it went right into Netflix. Or maybe not. I'm not really sure. But my point on that is it television or is it movies? Is it Oscars? Is it also, can it also be nominated for an Emmy and an Oscar? The same film? That doesn't seem right. They were two completely different awards, right? So that is a little bit of my opinion on it. Additionally, the Emmys have faced criticism for being a little bit out of step with popular sentiment, offer rewarding often rewarding industry favorites over true groundbreaking and fan loved work. Yeah, they're popular people. I mean, it's a popularity contest. That's why it's popular. It's celebrity. The word celebrity, right? You're celebrating somebody. You celebrate somebody so much they become celebrities, and then people honor them. There's nothing wrong with that. But if there's a piece of work that's really a piece of art that's really, really done extremely well, who's looking at the films that's going to give the nomination to a brand new filmmaker, someone just out of the, just literally just in the industry, who did something really, really special, to someone that's extremely famous that everyone watched. And so where are the checks and balances on that? I don't think there are any. I think it's what brought in the most money. That's what I feel anyway. This disconnect between the critics' praise and what general audiences watch have fueled a perception that the awards are more about industry politics than genuine merit. Declining television ratings for the broadcast and growing competition from newer, more inclusive award shows have only compounded the problem. As a result, while winning an Emmy still carries professional prestige, as I was saying, the ceremony no longer commands the same sense of occasion or cultural urgency it once did. And that's kind of like what I just said in my own, not as articulate as that writing was. But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's just not, doesn't hold the same weight. It's still an honor to win it, but I think they're doing it a disservice. I think people are not watching it as much because there's a lot of woke stuff that came into it. Also, like when you receive an Emmy or any award, thank the people that you have to thank for being in the position that you're in. Thank God, thank your family, thank your friends, thank the crew, thank the director, thank the writer, thank the fans for watching, thank the networks, or the studios. I like to thank the Academy, right? That whole thing. And then move on. When you bring politics into it, people are watching from home and you immediately lose 50% of the audience, right? Because that's about what the country is divided, right? So they say. So immediately you lose it. But if you go out there and just be gracious and just thank the right people, then at least, so that's not happening. So there you go. Let me get a drink here. This is live, folks. So the Emmy nominations will be shown again on September 14th, and that's at 5 p.m. Pacific. I mean, that's 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 14th on CBS, which is owned by Paramount Plus, or it's going to be shown on Paramount Plus. I don't even know where it's shown. I usually just watch the highlights. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me see if there's anything interesting to read here. So the breakdowns, some people that I know got nominated for Black Mirror was Paul Giamatti. I think he's just amazing. John Hamm, one of my favorites. Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV show. It received only one nomination for the theme music. First Emmy nominations was Harrison Ford for Shrinking on Apple TV. Again, most of them are going to be Netflix or Apple TV. So this is another. For the Bear was a TV show on FX. Got a first nomination for directing. Ayo Edebiri. Ayo Edebiri. That's his name. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that really, really wrong. The guy will be like, "No, it's Jeff Smith, idiot." Let me see. Second nomination, Catherine O'Hara for The Studio. She's fantastic, and she got one for The Last of Us. Catherine O'Hara is just one of the greats. The greats. Who else in here that's interesting? Noah Weil for The Pit in 2026. And 26 years since their last Emmy nominations. So he got one. Wow, that's interesting. Cool. I think that's a typo. They put 2026. But maybe that's what it is. So combining Disney Plus with other streaming services, Hulu and FX, Walt Disney Company has a total of 137 nominations. So basically, all nominations are streaming platforms. Okay? HBO, Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon, Hulu, FX, the Walt Disney Company, Paramount. Amazon had a down year with 12 nominations, nothing above the line in fiction. But it got an Emmy nomination for exceptional merit in documentary filmmaking for I Am, Celine Dion's thing. Their flagship Prestige show and the Marvelous Miss Maisel received 2 nominations. So there's still, this is really just showing that those networks are really in control of it. They really are in control of it, and it's kind of crazy. All right, friends, there you have it. Emmy nomination, September 14th. check them out. If you're in the film industry, obviously you want to find out what's going on. You want to see what the shows are, who are the directors, who are the managers, who are the producers of the shows, so you can submit to stuff, so you can be involved in the industry. That's what we do here. We're filmmakers, actors, writers that want to be in the industry. The industry is changing dramatically. It's having more opportunities, believe it or not. People say, well, there's less money in the industry. That might be true overall, but I think it's just spread out differently right now. I think there's more studios, there's more projects, there's more opportunities, but there is way, way, way more money as well. You just got to get into that industry and get out there and do it. And yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit more in the next couple of weeks about some of the stuff that I'm working on, only because some auditions and stuff that I've done, and some of the behind the scenes stuff that I've been doing, some of the stuff that I can talk about, some stuff I cannot talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. So tune in for those episodes. Hope you're all doing well out there. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you all. And as always, peace.